Good morning, and welcome to the daily devotion video here at Mount Calvary Lutheran Church for Friday, September 12th. My name is Vicar Zachary. This week we've been taking a look at the 5 most important events in getting me onto a path to ministry. And today I wanted to talk about my first year at seminary. Now, my first year at seminary was an interesting experience. And matter of fact, I'd be willing to say it was an interesting experience for every single seminarian that goes through it. Because it is hard. It is hard. It is a big shift away from the college classes I was used to. It was a big shift away from the kind of communities that I would hang out with. And the course matter and the content was just hard. But it was hard with a specific intention. Because I walked into seminary with a couple of pretty unhelpful ideas. I talked about earlier this week my confirmation, and about how that gave me more questions than answers, and about how God put people in my lives to answer them. Well, one of the things that my pride caused me to do, as so often is the case, is to assume that I understood everything after I was finished with that particular exploration. That I was walking into seminary already well informed about who God was, about what the Bible said, about the commands, etc., etc., etc. And I'll tell you, I was not alone. Many of my brothers, we had some bad ideas about who we were, about what God wanted from us. And that is what the first year at seminary really was there to do, was to break down those walls and to break down our poor ideas about what God was, who God was, and all the work that he has done. I think the best way I would describe it as a mortar and pestle or a crucible. We had to burn out, and burn out certainly did happen, all of the misconceptions that we'd had to put us in a place where we were ready to understand what the actual expectations on us were. To go back to a little bit of my science background, there is a study that determined that students who knew a little bit about a thing were generally way more confident in their abilities and way more confident about how much they knew than students who knew a lot. And this has been called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And at the seminary, it is rampant. And the idea behind it is that if you only know a little bit about a thing, you don't know all the things you don't know. So you think you know everything. Whereas someone who knows a good deal more has seen all the things that they don't know, has seen all the things that they don't yet understand, and so they will underestimate themselves and underestimate how much they understand. Seminary first year might as well be called the Dunning-Kruger effect crucible, Dunning-Kruger effect arena, because that's what they needed to do. That's what our professors needed to do, was to show us that even though we are, young men, we don't know everything. And this is a danger that I've seen a lot outside of just the ministry context, that people are unwilling to hear the word of God because they think they know it already. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine last week, and I love him very much. But he started telling me how all the ways in which the things that our country was doing was against the will of God. Now, I didn't inherently disagree with him, but what I will say is he did not understand the commands of God. And I told him this. I said, in the kindest possible way, I don't think you know enough about what Jesus commands to have opinions about whether or not they're being violated. Because that was where he was at. He'd looked at the Bible once or twice, but he didn't really have a devotional life. He didn't have a period where he studied and tried to understand what Christ was talking about. Instead, he allowed his first impressions, he allowed a smaller education to tell him that he knew everything. And brothers and sisters, this is what a devotional life is seeking to combat. Because not all of us have a first year at seminary to break down a lot of those misconceptions. Instead, what we have is Bible studies. we have daily devotion videos, and we have sermons. We have time set aside to go and really study the Word of God, to learn about it, so that we don't fly off half-cocked about what Christ thinks is good or what he doesn't. And instead, we are called to rely on God, learn from God, and to be spending our lives, spending every minute meditating upon the Word of God. You can find this clearly written in Psalm 1. Blessed is the man who meditates on his word day and night. Because that is what we're called to do. Always be studying, always be learning, always be taking the time to deepen our relationship with Christ, to deepen our understanding of his word, so that we don't go around and be a bad witness in coming off as superior to people because we don't actually know what we're talking about. And so this is what the first year at seminary did for me, is it put me in a place where I could say, I don't know everything. I don't know the answers to every question, but I want to know more. I'm excited to learn more. And here at Mount Calvary, I have been given a wonderful opportunity to study and learn at the feet of men who know far more than I do. And I hope that by my time that my year here is done, that I will just be a little bit wiser, and that I will be able to be just a little bit wiser so that I can share that with others. All right. I want to thank you so much for joining me this week for another set of daily devotion videos. I look forward to seeing you again in a little bit. Thank you.